Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this live stream. GetFPV live streaming once again. Like you can read in the title, we're going to be talking about the Banshee Cinema Drone, and then we're going to do like an overview of the drone. We feel like it's really nice in this case to show you a couple details and things that we haven't discussed before. And in this case, we're going to have, the man, the one and only Johnny. He's behind all these projects, so it's really nice to have you here. Welcome
Hey,
again.
what's up, man? How are you doing?
All good, and you? How's
Good, good.
everything?
Everything is great. Everything is great. Thank you for having me on today. Excited to dive into some details about the Banshee, show some people some key little details. But yeah, man,
For sure. It's been a minute since we had you here, so it's glad to have you back. I know that you've been working on multiple projects. You've been traveling here and there, and it would be it's nice to have you back to discuss about like the drone and then all the tips and tricks that you may have for people who want to get this drone. In this case, well, we just wanted to do this live stream to bring the people closer to what this type of rig is. Some of our viewers are familiarized with racing drones, but it's nice to have like like a different type of machine. In this case, a Cena lifter. So
for sure. Yeah, man. And so the Banshee, it's been a long project in the making. It really came to be in early 2020, right when the first Red Komodo prototypes came out. And I was lucky
right.
enough to get my hands on one of the prototypes for this Red Bull project, a Red Bull one shot. It's on the Red Bull YouTube page, but um, it ended up working really well, which really showed that it was possible, showed me it was possible to fly a cinema camera, a proper cinema camera, at a very high
Mhm.
level. And then that prototype has since evolved multiple iterations to what it now is. So this is the bird that I've been flying now for the last, again, since early 2020. And then the final version came out, I don't know, I started flying it a little less than a year ago or so. And
Mhm.
now we're finally excited to give people a chance to fly it if they're a filmmaker or interested in the high end FPV world. So, uh, yeah.
For sure, it's nice that you. I mean, it's nice that we get together and talk about this because, like in all of the YouTube videos, you have like multiple people always commenting like, "What are you? What's the rig that you're flying? Which camera settings? Which blah blah blah, whatever." So it's nice to have like finally talk about the drone. I remember this Red Bull one shot. That's the one that you did with Tyler, the right the
Yeah, that
BMX.
was the one where the very first, the Red Bull one shot, there's two. So the first one was with
Oh, there's two.
uh, a BMX rider, Tyler.
Mhm.
That went really well. It was with the GoPro though, and so Red Bull wanted to take it up a notch and try and do something similar with and just take everything up to another level. So instead of using the GoPro, we wanted to try and use 100% the Komodo or cinema camera, and it turned out again really well, and just really showed this vision that I've always had to try and fly nicer camera equipment to capture these shots in just better quality, better lenses, everything like that. And
Right.
so, yeah, I
I,
mean,
I think.
it's
Mhm.
go ahead.
Sorry. I think it all comes down that I mean, a couple years back, I remember you mounting like a GH5 or something, right? That was like the first camera you mounted on a like the first
Yeah,
DSLR
yeah.
that you mounted on a drone.
I was throwing a GH5 on a 7-inch quad, so just four motors, and it actually worked quite well, but it was at the very, very limits, and you couldn't do anything too aggressive dives or anything like that. And shortly after that, I don't know, maybe a year after that, the first X8 drones started to come up, and those obviously really helped with the extra weight. So now with the X8s, you could basically fly to almost the same level as a traditional 5 inch. Now,
Right.
when I actually go back to flying a 5 inch, it feels very weird. It's like just very strange because I'm so used to the bigger 8 inch with the heavier payload. But it kind of just goes to show whatever you're flying consistently, that becomes your normal. And so I could fly the Banshee to pretty much the same level that a lot of people consider you could fly a 5 inch at. And that's just because
Yeah,
I've spent a lot of time on it. And it's just a pretty well engineered machine with 8 inch propellers. It's kind of the perfect balance between extra thrust and bigger propellers for the payload, but not going too big where it starts to feel different. So I found 8 inches the sweet spot. It's what I've used again for the last, I guess, almost 3 years now, or sorry, 2 years. And yeah, man, I don't know how many people have actually seen this thing up close, but pretty simple. All about it's an X8, so it's really focused on set workflow and flight performance. So having the ability to quickly swap a battery and just yeah, you can't be held up too long on set. That's super important. You want everything to be really easy to use and so on and so forth.
for sure. Yeah. So now that you're talking about it, I think we can like dive in. I have a Banshee myself here. We can dive in like in the features, that went through that you went through this for the like the whole design process. I know that we have like side plates, right? These are like intended for the Komodo. It's I really like the design. In this case, you have like two mounting points on the sides, like one and two, right? So you can
Yep.
basically have different angles based on the speed that you're flying or whatever you want to capture. But also you have like side screws for the Komodo, right? So you mount the camera
Right.
here and then you just tilt it to wherever angle you want to point at, right? I think that
Exactly.
that's pretty cool. I think also this frame was, if not the first or the only, which is using like side alpha gels instead of like horizontal alpha gels,
Right. And the reason
um,
we did that was to basically save weight from using a standard additional middle plate that's isolated. And so instead, just having the vertical stands isolated, which are a bit smaller and lighter. And yeah, so if it wasn't clear already, this drone is really made for the Red Komodo. The Red Komodo, obviously, Red, the brand, they're very well known in the cinema world, in the filmmaking world. So it's the camera that a lot of high end productions really love to have on their sets and whatnot. And so that's what we base this frame and this drone around. Um, and yeah, with the camera plates, it's very easy and quick to change the camera angle. You just
mhm,
take a 2.5 millimeter driver, loosen the sides, and then you could just change it like that. So
exactly.
that took 10 seconds when you're on set and there's a new shot, maybe the speeds
Yeah.
change. You want to be able to change that really easily and not be held up. So that's something that's super nice. Um,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, like being on set. I mean, myself from a this perspective, all that time counts. Like when they say drone guy, you're up, you need to be up. Like you cannot spend any time like, oh no, my battery is unplugged. Oh no, yeah, I need to change my props. So you gotta be like fast on set. And I think that there are a lot of features that you have in this frame, like respond properly to that like need. In this case, like we say, like camera angle could be one thing, but I also think that battery, like the battery setup, it's another thing. So for
yeah,
example, in this one, I have, yeah, I have this one. Let me pull up the top down camera so people can actually see. So this is the battery setup. Battery itself looks like this. So it's consisting of battery plate and then a landing plate and then a tape that goes all around it. So the battery is secured to a battery plate and a landing plate, right? And the idea behind this, which I find really interesting, is that it works with some rails that the drone have. So in this case, you push a button on the top, and then you just slide the battery to the back, and this rail on this, I mean, there's a gap on this side which allows the battery to just slide in and then lock into that like spring loaded mechanism, which I find pretty clever. So I think those, like I said, those, and then that's locked. I feel those features or design ideas are really key when you're like on set, right? And that's how you went behind it, I guess.
Yeah, having the battery quick release mechanism. Again, you just prepare all your batteries in advance, whether that's 2, 3, 10, and you don't need to deal with Velcro straps, which is amazing. So it's just super quick, in and out, and you can get back up in the air really quickly. And it's really easy to use. And then on mine, because I'm traveling a lot and it's
Mhm.
sometimes tricky with these lags, you can do customization. So on my batteries, I have Velcro on the bottom, so on the landing
Oh,
plate,
nice.
I could just stick them together. It's a bit smaller, so it's a smaller package to travel with. Um,
Right,
and so there's things like that. But again, as you said, the battery quick release, it's so quick and slide it in, boom, you're done. So it's definitely one of the main features. And I know some other drone frames have now taken the same approach. So it's cool to see
right,
people agreeing with this. Our engineer Sam, he was the first to come up with this specific kind of method, which was really awesome. Um, and yeah, and I guess the other main thing besides these two kind of efficiency perks or features, it's really just a extremely well built frame. It's very solid, and that kind of facilitates the ability to fly the thing like a 5 inch. You could
right.
throw it around with the same kind of aggressive maneuvers, and it handles really well. So it's a again a true X. So everything is balanced quite well, which is pretty important when you have a heavy payload on top. And yeah, and on the Komodo, we also don't use to save further weight and enhance performance. We don't use a battery on the Komodo. It's powered via a output on the rear. So there's
Hmm.
two outputs on the rear, one for the Komodo, so you don't need an extra battery, and then one kind of auxiliary port where you could put a transmitter or any other device that you might have. So sometimes I'll put like this transmitter on the back of the Komodo, and it's just powered right
Hmm.
from that second port. Super quick and easy. It takes, I don't know, 5 seconds to slot this in, which is really nice. And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So in this case, there's, like Johnny was saying, there's two power outputs. One it's intended for the Komodo, which has like higher amp rates, right? It's because the Komodo is like
correct.
using more battery or more, yeah, more current. And then we have another one which is going to power up any other devices, like it could be like a transmitter, or I guess at some point you could, if you want to, you could like run like I don't know, RS3 gimbal and then power it up from there. So I really like the versatility. Also, in the kits that we have at GetFPV, we have this wire, which is basically going to the Komodo. It's yeah, power wire here, which has XT30 on the plug on the back or on the or the other end, so you can just like plug and play your Komodo and then boom, you're set, right?
Right.
So I think that those features, like we were just discussing, um, yeah, makes this like a really nice frame, really nice drone. Um, I guess you used this when you were showing the Porsche
Can,
Horizons,
can you
right?
say that again? The mic.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
sorry, I
me.
lost you. You're back.
Okay, I was saying that. You hear me now?
It's I don't know if it's my connection. It's hold on. Try again.
Hello, check. You
There
hear
we
me?
go.
Okay. I was just saying that I think you use this drone for all the Porsche campaign that you were doing, right?
Yeah, so the Porsche Drive to Extremes film, which is definitely the project that I'm most proud of to date. This frame was actually the second iteration. So there's three versions. This is version 3, but the version 2 was produced specifically for the Porsche film. That was a
Mhm.
big important part of that film was to use. cinema cameras, and we needed a platform that was very well built, easy to use on set. So that's a pretty cool fun fact. It was developed for that, and then since that film and since the drone worked so well, it was further refined to eventually turning into what it is now. Um, but yeah, it's the drone I use on all of my projects. Literally everything I do is on this drone. Occasionally, of course, I still fly the GoPros, but
Right.
on a lot of the projects I'm doing now, it's this drone, and it's never really let me down. It's always been an incredibly good tool, and the shots I've been able to get have been awesome, and they've really helped my career and my creative career. So everything like that.
For sure. I see a comment here, which I think that it's on point. It's saying, how do you travel with your equipment? I think that we could like complement this question by asking you like, do you travel with multiple rigs? Do you have like backups usually? Uh, like how does it work for you when you're going in a production and then you feel like you want to be like safe and sound in terms of all the gear that you have?
For sure. Traveling with, so I don't know, once you have this kind of cine lifter equipment, you definitely need a lot of boxes to protect it safely. So when I travel alone, sometimes it's a huge pain to haul all of my bags to the airport. But thankfully, living in Los Angeles, a lot of jobs are local. So I just put the equipment in my car and drive to a set or whatever. But I have a few cases, usually all Pelicans. Pelican cases are definitely the safest, and they protect the equipment really well. I usually bring 3 or 4 drones on any job. I usually, thankfully, don't go through more than one. Occasionally, there'll be a small crash, and I might need to take a backup out. But yeah, I usually bring 3 or 4 for safety. Um, and batteries, traveling with batteries can sometimes be tricky.
Right.
Most, I guess, all airliners, they want them under 100 watt hours. So you have
Hmm.
2 options when you're traveling. Locally, you could take batteries anywhere, obviously. If you're traveling internationally, you could use 4,500 batteries, which are under 100 watt hours. And so I typically use the 5200s, but a 45 is just a little bit less capacity, so it's very
Right.
capable. But if you want full capacity for an international job, usually you need to source the batteries on in the country where you're going to, or ship them. So you definitely need to prepare things a bit further in advance if it's a big travel job. But
Hmm.
that's pretty much how I travel with the equipment.
Right. So in this case, this drone has been designed. I mean, not designed, but it's set up already for 6S. Right. When you're talking about 4500, that means that you're using 4500 6S. I just wanted to jump in real quick into the. Let me check the internals of the drone, which I think is pretty cool. Um, Let me go here. So this drone has been built as an X8, like Johnny was saying. That means that basically it's an X configuration, but each arm consists of 2 motors. That means that we are having 2 ESCs, so you can actually see them here. It's a stacked ESC with an stack flight controller. Um, I really dig this because it's really convenient for repairing and also for building. That's pretty cool. On the front, we have one of the BECs or the power regulators, which is going specifically for the air unit. So you're having like clean voltage to the air unit. And also, there's like these 2 compartments on the sides, which are intentionally made for crossfire diversity with a slot on the side for just like hitting the button if you want to bind or something. And then on the back, we have 2 more regulators, which are basically the ones that run the XT30 out. Of course, the antennas for these extra long antennas, which I find very helpful for like improved video. Um, and then we have this dedicated mounting spots for the AS150 connectors, which I also find really nice. So everything is just like very neat and tight in terms of the build. Also, Johnny came up with this solution for the motor wires, which is like this braided cover for them and then secured to the arm. So that's cool. But yeah, the build quality on this thing is really, really, really next level, I think. And like I said, it makes it pretty easy and fast to open it up. It's just like taking this part, the bottom plate, and then boom, you can expose everything. If you need like to work on it, a last minute thing, if you want to check a couple details on your, yeah, maybe components, soldering, whatever, and then yeah, I feel it's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, I think that, like you said, traveling is a big important part of the of the thing with these cinelifters, right? Because sometimes you get jobs that are just not locally, but like internationally, other countries. Um, yeah. So how's like in terms of the workflow? What do you think this could be um, meant for? Like, do you think it could be like meant for small stuff, big stuff? I would say both, right?
Totally. I mean, for me, as a filmmaker, as a FPV pilot who loves to put cameras on the drones, it's always been about trying to get the best image out of the flight. So whether that's been through shooting really cool shit with the GoPro, starting out there, and then eventually evolving. Okay, now I want to take my image quality to the next level. So of course, the entry point, the price of a Red Komodo, it's much more than a GoPro. So it's kind of like if this is something you want to do as a very serious hobby, or to do professionally, if you're a very good flyer and you want to try and break into the bigger productions of the world, car commercials, movies, so on and so forth. Obviously, image quality is very important. So again, I started with the GoPro stuff, and eventually I needed a really good solution for the higher end stuff. So for now I use it for everything. I only use well, I shouldn't say everything. I still use a GoPro for a lot of things, but even my smaller jobs, I try and use the Banshee and the Komodo just to try
Hmm.
and upkeep that level of quality that I'm really after as a creative. That
Right.
makes my creative senses tingle. So, but it's definitely pushing towards the higher end world of filmmaking. You need the camera, lenses, so on and so forth. But yeah,
For sure. Also, I was, yeah, we were talking with Johnny. I think that it was last week. There's also a good question here that it says, why is it using the DJI unit instead of the O3 unit? I mean, when this drone was built and released, you can see that the air unit, the DJI air unit is over here. It was meant for this air unit, but since the new release of the O3 air unit, um, if we could have like a free version, like by request, if people feel like that will be in their interest. Get if we were to
hold
build
on, Santiago. Your audio is it's going in and out a little bit.
breaking again. Okay, you hear me better now?
I can. I think there's just a slight connection delay, but I think it's okay now.
Okay. I was saying that, yeah, here at Get on the look for all the requests that you
It's
guys may have. It's lagging again.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if it's just me having the audio issue. I'll quickly. Can you hear me? Okay, is mine good?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll quickly reiterate what you were just saying. Yeah, so this
Okay.
frame was built around this current air unit, and still it's quite difficult to get the new headset for the new air unit. But it would be very easy to um, to switch it out yourself, or if there was a specific request, I'm sure GetFPV would be able to comply and do it for you. but I'm still using this current air unit. I haven't quite made the switch to the O3. I think I'll probably try and explore that in the next few months and see. Uh, Eventually, probably make the switch, but
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I think that you covered it all. Um, okay, I think that we could have like a couple more questions if people feel like they want to ask Johnny something.
yeah, I see some questions on the side. Maybe I just go through a few of them.
For sure, yeah.
From Rip FPV, let's see. How do you prep for a shoot? What do you look for in the surrounding areas? How do you test the limits of your rig? Um, I mean, I don't think there's any real like crazy science to this procedure. Prepping for a shoot. I mean, I've flown so much. I don't really need to do so much prepping on the flying side. It's more making sure all the gear is ready for a shoot, organized in the cases. So once you show up, everything is good to go. And then flying for a specific shot, I don't know, whatever the client is asking for. Usually there's a few, it's quite loud in Venice Beach, sorry. There's usually like practice shots. So hopefully you're not just thrown into the action. Hopefully they give you a few tries to get to nail a shot. But I think just trying to get close to stuff without getting too close where it's dangerous, that's always a big thing that increases excitement of a shot, just trying to get very aggressive. People use FPV drones on projects because they want something a bit crazier, something a bit more energetic. So trying to give that to them through getting closer to the action with nice movements, that type of thing. 12S Banshee sticking with 6S going forward. I'm going to stick with 6S for now. I've been using 6S for since this drone was came out, and it's never failed me. It's done everything I want it to do, and the batteries are a bit more accessible, I suppose. Unless you do two batteries, then it doesn't matter. But I'm quite happy with the 6S. Maybe by the end of this year, maybe I'll have a couple 12S or 8S rigs to test. But I'm totally happy with 6S. Have you ever broken a Komodo? Let's see. I've had a few big crashes that weren't totally my fault, and the Komodo is actually very, very, very durable. So I actually, I crashed into a train, like a trolley,
What?
not like a public train. It was on a movie,
It
and
was a set, yeah.
they had me coming around the corner of a building to try and capture the train or the trolley, uh, like basically revealing the trolley. But they sent me a little too late, so I came around the corner, and the trolley was just like literally 5 feet away, going 30 miles or 40 miles per hour. So I didn't have time to
Dude,
react. The drone got hit pretty badly, but the
uh
Komodo still works.
made it.
So it's a very, very durable camera, which is awesome in case you do have an accident.
Right.
Um, Kata,
How
what's up,
about
man?
how about
He says,
how about for the when you were doing the Porsche commercial? Did you crash any drones? I saw a couple pictures of like sand all over the place in your drone, right?
yeah, yeah.
Do
So I definitely had a few crashes in that Porsche film, especially in the desert. We started off using the HQ macro quad propellers, which are
uh-huh.
my go-to propeller for everything, but they're very brittle. So
Brittle, yeah.
if you get hit by a rock in the middle of the air, there's a good chance the propeller is going to break and you're going to crash. So on that film in the desert, I don't know if you remember the film, there's a lot of shots where there's just flying debris, especially
Yeah.
in the slow motion shots. So we started off with the macro quad propellers, and I was just getting destroyed by the debris that was flying through the air, crashed a few times, and finally switched to the more durable material, and that saved us. But um, yeah,
Cool. This site because based on yeah Johnny's request, we just wanted to get this drone out to more people for them to be able to test and I mean to use. So there's been like a price drop on this unit. I think that is pretty good in terms of what the build quality and this rig means to have like this price drop. Um, so yeah, if you feel like you're interested on this rig, you can just go to GetFPV right now. It's in stock. It's ready to ship. It's been built by GetFPV, tested, put it to through its paces. We usually test with like a, let me grab this thing, with payload usually. Um, so in this case, before like shipping everything, we like test with maybe a dummy weight. We would just throw weight inside, and then we're just like 100% sure that this rig works accordingly to what it's meant to be. So no motors are failing, no ESC is failing with a payload on it. That way we can ensure that it's going to be a pretty solid rig. So yeah, if you go to GetFPV, you can find it under JohnnyFPV Banshee 8-inch. You can see all the details that we've been discussing here. You can even see Johnny in the desert taking hit by debris. But yeah, it's pretty cool machine, pretty cool project to have this drone here.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I would just reiterate your point. Um, this price drop is pretty significant, and it's because we want to start to, or hopefully get these in a few pilots' hands so they can see just how good it is. And I know it's a price drop that won't last very long. I'm personally practically making zero money on it. We really just want to show people and get it out there to start that uh, kind of wave of new pilots flying it. So that's yeah.
for sure, yeah. I think that's a good point. Um, yeah, for sure. And thanks everyone for being like in this live stream. I don't know, Johnny, if you feel like you want to say anything else, or maybe tell us what's coming for Johnny FPV in this year. If you have like any passion projects, or if you've been working on something, or if you have worked last year on something that is going to be releasing this year, which I think that's how productions work, right? You work on
Yeah,
something and then it gets released like 2 years after. So
of course. Especially the bigger films, they have quite long post-production times. So something that is very exciting that's coming out sometime this year, probably in the summer, is Fast and Furious 10, the new Fast and Furious movie. That
ooh,
was,
that's big
as you can imagine, pretty amazing to be a part of. And the shots we got, I think they're amazing. And hopefully they use a lot of the shots in the film. And then there's a couple other films, one with Netflix called We Have a Ghost, which has some great shots. And then I was just recently in India, which was very cool. About just before the new year, so 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I was in India for 2 weeks working on a film that was a big Indian Bollywood movie. So that'll be coming out, I think, this summer. It's very cool to be a part of. And then I'm sure I'll do some fun stuff this year and hopefully post about it so you guys could check it out.
for sure. I think it's pretty interesting in this type of gigs that you don't see to get the final product or which shots they use until you see the or until you see you cannot know.
Yeah, slight audio issue again, but totally. There, it's up to the production and the editor and the director, and sometimes they'll use a shot that I don't think is good, and they won't use a shot that I think is good. It's just one of those things. At the end of the day, it's just a creative decision. So yeah, it is kind of an interesting thing, but usually they have the best editors in the world working on some of these projects. So hopefully they use the best shots.
For sure. Cool, man. I think that we went through all the overview of this drone. I feel really interested on this. I've flown it myself a couple times, but yeah, can see what people is going to be making with this type of rigs, and then with this drone. Um, yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything else, but yeah,
No, I think this was a great discussion, and I think we answered uh, some questions, went over the drone. So hopefully, if anyone was watching, I know there's a few viewers out there. Hopefully, they had a good time watching, and thank you for tuning in.
for sure. So yeah, thank you guys. We're gonna wrap this up. As I told you, like, product is available if you feel like you want to check it out. Thank you, Johnny, for being this live stream. Like I said, it's glad to. Next time, I hope that you come to Florida and then meet up. Maybe.
For sure. Come hang out soon
Then,
for sure.
yeah, for sure. And thanks to everyone that has been tuning into this live stream. We'll see you guys pretty soon.
Cool. Peace.
Thanks. Thanks, man.